Good morning. I am in a different spot this morning, as you can
I can
see,
see.
and instead of playing, where in the world is Hanok, we're playing where in the world is me, and that happens to be Gloucester, Virginia. I'm sitting in the office of Barry Phillips, so you should be feeling an extra amount of anointing this morning upon the program. Uh, I'm
Is,
here for.
is that what I'm feeling? I didn't have a word for it, but okay.
Yeah. I'm here for doing a wedding tonight. Wonderful couple, Jared and Aurora Lael. Just amazing young people, and had spent the evening with them last night. And you know how well I do evenings. I mean, when you're at my house, it's like, okay, Hanok, it's 8 o'clock.
Yeah.
Um, but
Malatov.
yeah, so we were up way too late last night, and at the restaurant, we closed down Carrabba's about an hour and a half after they were supposed to be closed. So if it looks like I need toothpicks for my eyes, or if I'm bleeding through my eyeballs, this is after Visine. Okay, so it was really bad early.
Wow.
Yeah. So that's my thing. You take the program, and I'll take a little nap, and
Okay. Let's do
just
that.
you know let me know.
Yeah. It's it's funny. I was just joking with you off air. I think it's worth mentioning as a segue or prelude to what we're going to cover is that every week now, since the war has started for sure, we've looked at each other and said, wow, there's a lot to discuss. It never gets simpler. So let me give you the situation right now. Right now, of course, Blinken is back in Israel. This is time number 7 within the last 7 months.
Yeah, yeah. We're hoping you'll keep him.
Well, I got to tell you, we're hoping he'll take Bibi Netanyahu with him and go back. Maybe he can go back to Columbia University,
Uh,
um, which we'll need to talk about because that's actually a very big issue. Anyway, the thing on the table, and we should know by this evening, our time, whether Hamas has accepted the Israeli hostage exchange ceasefire thing. And you'll note in some of the news accounts that you read, particularly if you're not reading the Israeli media, it'll make a reference to prisoner exchange.
mhm.
This is not a prisoner exchange.
Yeah,
Hamas terrorists who were caught since October 7th and other Hamas and PLO, PA, Islamic Jihad, the whole slew of the rats and cockroaches that have tried to kill Jews and in some cases sadly succeeded, they are in our prisons. Our men, women, and children that were taken hostage on October 7th, that the entire world ignores,
yeah,
are hostages.
yeah.
Okay. You're reading several different versions of what essentially the terms are.
Mm,
I'm not going to go into it simply because we don't really know what the
yeah,
final offer is
yeah,
and what they accept and what they come back and what they negotiate. But the bottom line is there is, unless Hamas rejects it, supposed to be some kind of ceasefire for some period of time involving release of hostages in exchange for hundreds, if not thousands, of terrorists in our prisons. Now, there's enormous pressure in Israel. Hamas, who evidently are masterful at creating psychological terror,
hmm,
not only by their actions, but by their videos. So when you see a video of Israelis still alive, including um, Hirsch Goodman Pollan, I forget his last name, I apologize. Uh, Actually, he was an American citizen who had his arm blown off on October 7th. You see him in the video, and you see the two other men. It appears that Israel has dropped the demand from 40 hostages to 33. because our intelligence have told that among the 40 that we were looking to get back immediately, several of them are no longer alive. We do not know. We have never gotten a list of who the hostages are. The Red Cross, remember, which is clamoring to visit the Hamas terrorists in our prison, have never seen our hostages in Gaza.
Hmm.
Uh, let me give you both sides of the enormous pressure right now.
Okay.
On the one hand, as I said, probably in the first week after the war, it's our humanity that's working against us. We are a nation. The state of Israel functions on an interpersonal level like a giant family. Read into that a giant dysfunctional family. So you're at,
Yeah.
you're at the yearly Clayton family, ingathering, and you've got the people that don't talk to each other and the people that talk about each other, but in a moment's notice would die for each other. It's really it's incredibly passive aggressive. In the same way, I've told the story many times that Israelis will literally trample you to get on a bus.
Oh yeah.
Will trample you to get on a public bus. But if while you're on the public bus, all of a sudden you start feeling a little woozy, you'll be surrounded by 9 Jewish grandmothers who are giving you water and patting your head, and then all of a sudden showing you pictures of their granddaughter. Maybe you want to date I mean, this is
Yeah.
this is the way we roll.
Yeah. It's
Very
the
bizarre.
ultimate oxymoron is
Yeah,
Israel.
very, very bizarre. So on the one hand, how can we not do anything and everything to get those hostages that remain alive home?
Yeah.
Now, in this first group, it appears that we're fighting to get women, children, sick, elderly. The sticking point seems to be the women IDF soldiers.
Yeah.
Again, being cognizant of the fact that this show is watched by children, just let me state vaguely that we know of the ongoing torture and abuse
Yeah.
of our women hostages. Okay. So that's on the one hand. So you want to, do anything you can, ceasefire, end the war, whatever it is. On the other hand, because for a moment, you could put yourself in the position of being the sibling, parent, child, relative of a hostage. Now I'm going to ask you to put yourself in another position, to be the relative or friend of one of our soldiers that's fallen.
Yeah.
A campaign that is no longer definite that we're going to finish. I was asked in Florida a number of months ago when I was there. It was either January or February, I can't remember, how I thought this war was going to end.
Hmm.
Would it end in the promised destruction of Hamas and the return of the hostages and all of our goals? And I said I believe that this would be stopped and there would be a negotiated end.
Yeah.
And people looked at me in horror, as if I kept saying, this is not what I want. This is not what I think we need. Understand, I believe that we will do whatever it takes to get however many hostages are still alive. And I don't know if we'll ever know how many are still alive.
No, probably
I
not.
mean, so there's that one issue. Um, so what do you do for let's call it 100 people. Let's say there are 100 hostages. I don't know. I think they're far less. Our intelligence sources in the media tell us far less. And then you'll have 7 million Israeli hostages.
Mm-hmm.
We have no deterrence whatsoever.
Mm-hmm.
We are totally dependent upon American munitions, which they can stop at any time. And
Yeah.
we should talk about Donald Trump for a minute, because he said a few things that are very interesting the other day. Um, We also have a prime minister, as I like to say, a crime minister, who is totally indecisive. The Rafiach option is on, it's off. How do
Yeah,
you have a war that's constantly being paused?
yeah.
You release reservists back home, they're back home for a few weeks, and then they've got to gear up again. You've got a situation in Lebanon that we allowed for the last 20 years, of which Netanyahu has been prime minister, most of them, to get to be unbearable. The mayor of Haifa, I don't know if this made much media, but has called upon all citizens of Haifa to begin stockpiling food and water.
Oh,
Meaning that Haifa, should there be a full-blown war with Hezbollah, would be hardest hit.
oh yeah, no doubt.
So all of this is going on. So we don't know. We don't know. We don't know what the terms of this are. But it appears, you know what? I've been on really good behavior for quite a number of weeks. I believe we're going to capitulate.
Yeah.
Okay. So there's one element. Let's switch quickly to the United States of America, where there, by last count, were something like 45 or 50 major universities which had encampments. Now, I do want to point out something. I've participated in sit-ins in 3
Yeah.
different countries. Okay. I'm intrigued by the fact that at Columbia, they all have beautiful North Face tents that retail for about $500 a
It is
piece.
something. Yeah.
What a coincidence. Now, it's not like we say, Mike, you and I are going to go and stage a sit-in, I don't know, in Pocatello, Idaho. So you've got a tent, you've gone camping with your kids when they were younger, you've got a full-blown tent. I've never camped a day in my life. Okay. I've
That's a
lived in
surprise.
slums. I've lived in slums, but I've never stayed in a tent. So I would borrow something from someone and it would be makeshift and whatever. It would probably look like a sukkah. Okay. Understand something. Our leaders, our listeners need to understand. Jews, as Jews, are being barred from major college campuses. They're not being allowed on.
Yeah.
Now, if you're saying, no, they all don't wear kippot, they all don't wear a Magen David, but trust me, from personal experience, they know you're a Jew. Plus, you've got the little student ID. Now, in my day, even though there were hundreds at Columbia, we would have gotten 20 guys that would have gone and bloodied a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
But let's forget that for a second. Let's forget that in these decades, the world has changed, particularly among Jews in America. The fact that the administration of these schools, the cities, the state, and the federal government allow Jews to be barred as Jews from campuses they're paying to is a really, 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 really bad omen. Let's switch quickly to Donald Trump, who is the front runner in the upcoming US elections. Trump, of course, says, and this is his constant thing, if he were president, none of this would have happened. Like China wouldn't act up,
Yeah.
Ukraine wouldn't have been invaded. Nothing
Yeah.
bad in the world would have ever happened.
Yeah. We'd be
That's
right
what
on the edge of utopia by now. I know. I got it.
okay. He did say how he's had bad experiences with Bibi Netanyahu. He did say, and I agreed with this, he said Netanyahu needs to resign. October 7th was his responsibility. It was on his watch. Absolutely true. But understand something. People are saying to me, wow, you'll see, Hanoch, Trump is going to get reelected and he's going to clean these campuses. He very well might. Although major universities like Columbia, since the 60s, do not allow police presence on their campus unless they're invited in. That's something people need to understand because they're saying, what about the NYPD? Where are all these guys? They had to be invited in by the administration. If Trump calls out, encourages governors to call out the National Guard and clear these campuses and make it safe for Jews, trust me, this is not a prediction. This is just an understanding. America's cities and campuses will burn. What everyone experienced during the whole Black Lives Matter
Yeah, I was going to bring that up.
rioting, nothing is going to be, and part of the problem is what Spiro Agnew. Now, most of the people listening are probably saying,
Mhm.
Spiral what? No, not Spiral. Spiro Agnew. He was a vice president of the United States under Richard Nixon, at least for a while. He, if I'm not mistaken, coined the term the silent majority. Now I have to tell you something that happened to me about a week ago. I saw someone who was one of these strong people involved in supporting Israel in the sense of the Ephraimite two-house movement, being in touch with Rivka Lambert Adler and Eliyahu Berkowitz and all the, usual cast here in Israel. Many, many nice people, good people. And she said to me, you, as a Jew, and I thought, boy, this is taking an interesting turn of events, isn't it? She said, you as a Jew need to share with everyone here in Israel that there's an army of people behind you that support you. And I was rushing to make the light rail connection to get the train back to Modi'in. So I didn't have time to fully develop the idea. And I said, I appreciate what you said. I appreciate the sentiments behind it. There ain't no army. There ain't no army.
That's true.
Most of the Christians, Messianic, Hebrew roots people that ostensibly supported us, the term that you often use, Mike, and I've spent a lot of time with you, crickets.
Yeah, I know.
Hear absolutely nothing. And, you know, this is where, I have so little patience to begin with. I don't get nearly as much mail or WhatsApp messages even, or Facebook messages as people tend to think I do.
Mm-hmm.
But I often get these notes with a meme usually where people say, I want you to know we're praying for Israel. We're praying for you guys over there. Over there, over there. Okay, so that's cool. And I want to make a general pronouncement, if you will. I am a huge believer in prayer. We Jews pray 3 times a day in a set service. I always do a long prayer at night in bed when I say the Shema. That's when Hashem and I review the entire day, what we want tomorrow and the next couple of weeks to be like. I wouldn't say I make a list of demands. I make a lot of very humble requests. Okay, and then there's the free form prayers throughout the day. When I'm up on the Har HaBayit at the Temple Mount, I'm praying for most of an hour. So I'm a big believer in prayer. But if all you do is pray, meaning if you can't on a monthly basis pull out 150, 20, $10 and send it to Mike at Join to Hashem and say, hey, Mike, please put this towards a project or a cause or an organization in Israel that you feel needs it. If you can't take the time to go ahead and email one of your elected officials, either positive, thanking them for what they're doing, like Governor DeSantis, or negative, if you can't do anything for Israel, If you can't share the Israel update or any of the podcasts that you do, Mike, then don't bother. Don't waste your time praying for us.
Yeah.
Really.
Well, and I'm noticing that my picture uh crazy on your end.
Well, let's just say that it's slightly frozen
Okay.
and you're not as good looking as I had remembered from last week.
Okay. But voice is okay?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Okay. I have no idea what's going on. We had issues
Well,
last
I
night
can
with the
explain it. It obviously you said something that upset Barry. He
computer.
made a setting on his machine. I'm sorry. I hope he doesn't do it to me when I come and visit him in the summer.
That's true. That's true. Well, we have of course, we have a choice on our end of who to focus on. And I want to tell you, I was at House of David last night
Yeah.
and was able to do just a very brief presentation. We had a rehearsal dinner to go to, but I had about 20, 25 minutes to do a presentation. And a young man who is somebody you know pretty well, not the oldest of the family, but toward the top. Okay, you know who I'm talking about.
Yes, I do.
Came up to me last night after that with tears in his eyes and handed me an envelope that had a $20 bill in it. And I looked at that envelope this morning, Hanok, and it was like, this is who we're raising. We're
Yeah.
raising a group of people, these young people, some of them that their eyes aren't on themselves. Their life is not about themselves. Their life is about helping. And here's a young man that would I'm sure would love to be in Israel. Is there a possibility of a way that he would be there soon? No, not really. But what I saw in his eyes is that that's where his heart is. And that's the kind of people that I like to that's the kind of people I have to
Absolutely agree.
focus on.
Absolutely agree. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
It to me, knowing that individual and knowing the family, that's worth more than a $20,000 check.
Oh, yeah. I mean, the
And
widow had an opportunity to give the mite. Probably this was probably a greater sacrifice than that, I would imagine. So,
um, with all of the feeling that Israel and the United States government are kind of going off the rails on our situation with Hamas, Hezbollah, etc. Within that, I don't want people to get depressed because although we don't have the time to have me elaborate on it, it gives us tremendous opportunities. And it very well may be the stage for the last set of opportunities for people to really decide again. And, for the sake of the Israel update, we always have Hashem speak Southern. Is you is, or is you ain't, my constituency.
Huluk, I was asked a question last night, and I'll pose it to you because
Sure.
things change since February when I was there. But I've been thinking through these 2000 or 208 days. It probably seems like 2000 to the hostages.
Yeah.
208 days that the only reason that the government has not coalesced already is because of the strength and unity of the Israeli population. Is that still the case? Is there still that unity? What about these demonstrations in Tel Aviv that we see?
Okay. Part of the demonstrations, the ostensibly, the demonstration is supposed to be pressure on the government to get the hostages freed. I'd like to go over, and these people mean well. And I want to say, do you really think it's our government that's holding back the freeing of our hostages?
Yeah.
I mean, and then we've got, our anarchists. There's a lot of pressure. Um, Recent polls showed the majority of Israelis saying Netanyahu needs to step down immediately and call elections. Our chief of military intelligence, which is the ultimate oxymoron, General Khalifa, just stepped down a week ago. He's going to stay on, in some transition period, accepting responsibility for October 7th. Unfortunately, the leading candidate to replace him is a brigadier general who, when he had been in charge of our troops in Yosh, Judea and Samaria, Yudan Shomron, said that the single biggest security challenge in Shomron, Samaria, was what he called nationalist crime. Nationalist crime is the euphemism from the Hebrew translated into English for Jews who might take revenge against local Arabs for killing and attacking Jews.
Mm.
So this guy sounds like a total moron.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering how many more times we will make mistakes.
Yeah.
But again, in every crisis is enormous opportunity.
Yeah. It is, and I think this whole thing with the government, Hanok, is what goes back to Yom Kippur War of what you've. I think it was Yom Kippur War. You stated that
Yeah.
there was placards that said, "In Hashem we trust," and then it went to "In the IDF we trust."
Yeah.
The
In
placard,
the summer
yeah,
before, the quote from Psalms, Yisrael B'tach B'Shem, Israel trusts in God, were changed to Yisrael B'tach B'Tzahal, Israel trusts in the IDF. This was the
yeah.
summer of 1973. My first time in Israel, I was a kid. Um, and it's interesting that you mentioned Yom Kippur War because that'll be the launching off point for my upcoming talk in America,
Okay.
which is entitled tentatively "What Will Be."
Well,
So,
the I think what has happened since Yom Kippur is the sign that would have been put up, and please correct me if I'm wrong, but the sign that would have been put up is Israel trusts in America to stand with us. Um,
I
that's
I don't
changing.
I don't think that was as widely believed
Hmm.
as people might think. I think we've all been horrified to find out how much we depend upon America. I mean, the
Yeah,
ICC, the International Criminal Court, could be giving indictments against Netanyahu, and which would mean then, other than Israel and the United States, they could go nowhere else in the world.
yeah.
This is
Uh,
unbelievable, unbelievable.
oh yeah. My point in saying that though is that I think what I see and hear you bringing forth is that the the sign once again in Israel is we must trust only in Hashem, and that's the best place that you guys could be in. It really is.
Well, it's a very, very, very harsh cold bucket of water,
Yeah,
that douses you. It's like, wow. So yeah, lots of change coming, guys.
yeah. All right. Well, I'll
And
get
again,
this online, and
great.
we've got many opportunities for people to get their favorite still shot of me looking really dumb right now because of the camera freezing up and, and not streaming
I,
well.
I, I don't know what you did to upset Barry, but if I were you, I would apologize, Mike. I really would.
Yeah, it may be Laura that I need to talk to, not Barry.
Oh no. All righty. Send
So,
love to all.
all right,
See
take
you.
care,
Bye
and
bye.
we'll talk soon.
Bye bye.